Still struggling after the financial crisis. Passengers welcome the decision to defer fare increases.
A sandstorm could happen any time. Once the exploration team enters the desert, it has to stay there to work for over 2 months. The team, with more than 300 members, must be prepared to fight the sandstorms. In the past, they had to sleep in the open. Now they sleep in tents. The explorers say work and living conditions have improved. Most importantly, the problem of water shortage has been resolved.
Water is vital for desert work, so the water we drink and cook with is a water of life. Water we use for laundry and bathing is taken from underground. It's salt water. We use it for laundry, bathing and washing your feet.
The period from May to September is the desert's windy season, when violent sandstorms make it impossible to work in the desert. So the exploration team has to finish its work by March or April, when the weather is better. XINJIANG is an engineer at the Taklamakan oil field. He's been all over the desert in the past few years. He says he's used to the desert's tough conditions.
For an oil man, the happiest thing is to find a copious oil field.
In the Tarim Basin are more than 10,000 workers. XINJIANG's job is to drill wells. Sometimes a project takes half a year before he can go home to Hebei for a holiday. Drilling wells means digging out the subterranean oil and natural gas. The oil is exceptionally deep in this desert, making the job especially difficult.
We're talking about the complex conditions underground. The mainland's oil layers are relatively shallow, mostly within 3,000 meters, but oil layers here are usually 4,000 to 6,000 meters.
He says he wants to discover an even bigger oil field.
Our country's oil production is behind the Middle East. The originally forecast production rate was similar to the Middle East, but we haven't yet discovered large-scale oil fields.
When drilling for oil, natural gas can be collected at the same time. But the Tarim Basin cannot handle natural gas, so every day it's just burnt away. 200,000 yuan's worth is burnt at the Taklamakan No. 4 oil field alone.
If in the future we can transport the gas from the west to the east, our excess natural gas can go to the east and be fully utilized. Then we won't have to waste it anymore.
Liu Qiang says the reserve of natural gas in the Tarim Basin is enough to supply 60 million families for 30 years, but transporting the gas is a huge task. The oil and natural gas taken from Tarim Basin is transported via underground pipes to Lunnan for treatment before going elsewhere. Transporting gas from the west to the east is a major project in plans to develop the west. It will begin at the end of the year. The pipeline will start at the Lunnan oil field, running 4,200 kilometers through 9 provinces and cities to end in Shanghai. It's due to be completed in 2003. Transporting gas from west to east is expected not only to provide environmentally friendly fuel to tens of millions of families in the east, but also a reliable energy source for industrial developments along the route of the pipeline. The entire project will cost 120 billion yuan. It's hoped it will also stimulate chemical, steel and construction industries along the way. The current round of Western development is benefiting locals living around the Xinjiang oil fields. They include ethnic minorities. Because local taxes are levied on oil exploration, many areas have prospered as a result. Take Luntai County, with a population of 110,000. It was among the poorest in the nation, with an annual tax income of just 2 million yuan. Since discovering oil, Luntai collected more than 100 million yuan in tax revenue last year. The county has undergone a facelift as the local government used the windfall for urban construction and promoting agriculture. But oil and natural gas exploration affects some peasants' lives. Take 60-year-old Tuli Sagan. She's been living near the Lunnan oil field for 30 years. 2 years ago, she and other peasants were relocated to this new site to make way for oil exploration. They were paid several tens of thousands of yuan to build new homes. Each household was also given several hectares of land for farming. Tuli Sagan says her income dropped at first.
Because what we planted was just growing out. Last year we grew some watermelons, which were just enough for us to eat, but couldn't generate much income. As long as I remain alive, I think the days ahead may get better.
Tuli Sagan says her living conditions have improved. She predicts the grapes she's planted will be harvested next year, bringing a rise in income. She thinks with all the workers coming here for oil exploration, her fruit and vegetable business will get better. Liu Chang, who's worked in Xinjiang for 9 years, says transporting gas from the west to the east is an opportunity to kickstart Western China's sluggish economy. Areas in the west, natural gas is seen as a sign of progress and a departure from poverty.
We used to lead a nomadic lifestyle. Mountains and valleys were our home. We were very dispersed.
When he was young, Xilan Fei and his family were relocated from Xinjiang to XINJIANG County at the westernmost tip of Gansu province. Like many other Kazakh tribespeople, Xilan Fei had been living on the grasslands as a nomad.
Wherever there was water, there was grass, and that was where we moved to. Our livelihood is this herd of sheep. We rely on the sheep to live.
In mid-March, the temperature on the Aksay Prairie dropped to -10 degrees Celsius. But Xilan Fei, at 74 years of age, was busy examining his ewes to see when they would give birth. Xilan Fei lives with his eldest son's family. They live primitive lives. In winter, they stay here to herd the sheep and burn sheep dung as fuel.
This is very convenient. We dry the dung in the sheep pen, then we use it.
Xilan Fei says on the prairie, sheep manure has been used for fuel for generations and will be for generations to come. But with Beijing's Go West strategy aimed at improving the living standards of ethnic minorities, how will the Kazakhs' nomadic lifestyle be affected? Not far from Xilan Fei's prairie is a desert. Amid the dunes can be seen sections of pipes. These are pipes used to transport natural gas from Qinghai's oil fields hundreds of kilometers away to Aksay here. The new city of Aksay was only established here 3 years ago. It's still surrounded by Gobi Plains, but the fuel it uses is modern natural gas. As a clean fuel, natural gas is seen as crucial for the 21st century and a sign of urban prosperity. Chaijiang's job is to check the equipment at the natural gas supply station every day to ensure it's running normally. Aksay, with a population of just 9,000 and no industries to speak of, consumes very little natural gas. Actually, there were no plans originally for Aksay to enjoy the convenience of natural gas.
Originally, there was no plan to expand the pipeline to Aksay, but to the east of Gansu.
Later, after Beijing approved the project to transport gas from west to east, it was also proposed that backwater areas en route should also benefit from energy exploration to alleviate poverty. That's how Aksay got its share of natural gas. The only furnace that supplies heating in Aksay is now using natural gas, and the local government is subsidizing 3/4 of the cost. The Kazakhs say they feel better off using natural gas.
Our county slogan is 20 years ahead. That means building a town 20 years ahead. But we are enjoying now the life we only dreamt.
And Kazakh housewives now use natural gas instead of sheep's manure to cook.
It used to be so troublesome. I was afraid it would blow up when I first used it. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm used to it now.
After the new town was completed, the nomadic herdsmen settled down. This is the home of Xilan Fei's son. From the rootless days on the prairie to an urban home, it's a quantum leap.
I'd never seen a flat before, never lived in one. Now I live in a flat and can watch television. And there's running water and electricity. It's a complete change.
Urbanization is a major strategy of China's development of the West, bringing together a dispersed population to live in towns where it's more convenient to supply them with utilities, telecommunications, and education. Although natural gas is clean and convenient, it costs much more than burning coal. Ethnic minorities can't afford it without government subsidies. But development of the West can't solely rely on public coffers in the long run. What's needed are the people's